The spoilers for Beyond the Gates, airing on Friday, March 13th, center on Grayson receiving a threat. Meanwhile, Joey opens up to Vanessa about his family, and Martin turns to Vernon for help. The key points to remember are these: Grayson receives a threat as tensions within the plasma ring continue to rise. Who is threatening Grayson? Is Jacob really in control of the situation, or is he starting to expose his true identity? Joey confides in Vanessa about his family and his past. Martin opens up to Vernon about the strain in his marriage. Cott and Donald exchange information with each other, but are they simply sharing their thoughts, or are they brushing up against a much bigger secret than either of them realizes? At the same time, Naomi and Derek may be doing the same when it comes to Ashley's love life. Is Naomi trying to protect her friend, or is she accidentally setting off a new tragedy? Garland Memorial still looks brightly lit, just as it does every night. The hallways remain so clean they feel cold, and the sound of medical machines continues in its steady rhythm, like the artificial heartbeat of a place built to save lives. But beneath that white light, something else is breathing, lurking, quietly laying traps inside those sterile rooms. This week is not a good one for Grayson, and that feeling is no longer just some vague sense of unease. It has taken shape. It has appeared on a phone screen. It has become a threat sharp enough to cut away every illusion that he is only a small link in the chain, someone standing outside the storm. Because in the world of the plasma ring, people only remain outside it until the moment they are dragged in and crushed. Grayson understands that, even if he always pretends not to. And it is that pretense that makes him more vulnerable than ever now, if it is not already too late. Jacob has seen him, not in the casual way coworkers in a hospital look at each other, not in the passing way one person recognizes another by face or name. This was the look of someone who had spotted a crack in the wall and had started knocking in just the right place, waiting for it to collapse. From the moment Jacob discovered that Grayson was part of the cybercrime network, everything Grayson believed he had under control began to shake. Jacob should have been the most obvious threat, because Jacob is a cop. But what truly throws Grayson into turmoil is that Jacob is not behaving the way Grayson imagines an undercover officer would. For some reason, Jacob allowed a lab technician to believe he was a corrupt cop, a man willing to look the other way for profit, rather than someone working undercover. It is a small detail, but in a world where every small detail is a landmine, it becomes the sign of either a deadly mistake or a layered plan that will get someone else killed first. Grayson does not know whether Jacob intentionally let him misunderstand or whether Jacob has made a dangerous error, but he feels one thing very clearly. Whenever someone starts playing a game of false identities, the first person to burn is usually the one standing closest. Jacob's panic only makes it harder for Grayson to sleep. Because if Jacob is panicking, then Jacob is under pressure from somewhere behind him, which means there is a force that even a police officer does not dare underestimate. And if Jacob has been pushed so far that he has had to construct this corrupt cop persona as a way to protect himself, then Grayson understands he is standing between two blades. On one side is the plasma ring, always demanding absolute silence. On the other side is the police, willing to drag everything into the light at any cost. Silence used to be Grayson's refuge. Now it feels like a plastic bag pulled over his head. The harder he tries to breathe, the more he suffocates. He begins to suspect that Jacob is not only hiding his true identity, but also hiding a plan that could turn Grayson into the perfect sacrifice. If Jacob wins, Grayson goes to prison. If the plasma ring wins, Grayson disappears. And if Grayson tries to save himself, both sides have every reason to destroy him first. The threat arrives at the worst possible moment, like a hand closing around his throat just as he is trying to swallow his fear. It is not long. It does not need to be. It only needs to be one sentence, enough to silence every sound of the hospital in his mind. It does not identify itself. It does not say who sent it. It only mentions something that only an insider could know. refers to a hidden corner of the lab, hints at a report he once handled or delayed. And then it ends with a deadline so short it feels absurd. Whether it is the plasma ring or someone else trying to silence him no longer matters. What matters is that someone is watching him, close enough to know his schedule, familiar enough to know the back route near the testing area, confident enough to send the message without fear of being traced. That sends a chill through Grayson, and anger rises in him like a reflex of self-defense. He is furious at being treated like a disposable pawn. Furious that someone dares decide his fate with a single message. Furious that Jacob has shattered the fragile illusion of safety he had been clinging to for so long. But that anger does not make him stronger. It only makes him more likely to make a mistake. And in the world of the plasma ring, a mistake is a death sentence. Grayson begins to wonder whether he really is nothing more than a low-level insider, or whether he knows more than anyone ever realized. Because if he were truly unimportant, no one would bother threatening him. And if he knows too much, then the threat is merely the opening move before turning him into an accident. He starts remembering the times he transferred data, the times he saw strange file names, the moments he overheard terms that had nothing to do with medicine. He always told himself not to dig deeper, not to get curious, not to look too long. But those vague memories are now the very things that prove he has seen something, that he has touched the edge of a secret. And now someone wants to cut away that edge before it tears the entire curtain apart. Elsewhere in the hospital, Derek is dealing with a very different kind of anger, more subtle perhaps, but no less dangerous. Derek tells Naomi with a bluntness that sounds as though he has rehearsed it many times that he and Ashley are only friends. But his eyes do not hide the insult he feels when he has to watch Ashley walk into a relationship he deeply distrusts. He has a bad feeling about Grayson, and that instinct is not merely the jealousy of a man who still cares. It is the reaction of someone who once stood very close to Ashley, once believed he understood her, and now sees her drifting into darkness she does not even recognize. Derek is angry at his own helplessness, angry because if he intervenes, he will be seen as a man who has never let go. Angry because if he stays silent, he will be abandoning Ashley to a danger he can almost physically feel. And deeper than that, he is angry because he is forced to face a humiliating truth. Some cracks inside him have never healed. And the friendship he claims to have with Ashley is sometimes nothing more than a layer of paint covering his fear of losing her forever. Naomi enters that conversation carrying a colder kind of tension. She cares about Ashley, but she also looks at Derek with the eyes of someone who knows emotions can become an excuse for people to make terrible mistakes. Naomi listens to Derek talk about Grayson, listens to the small details he has gathered into suspicion, and feels a quiet kind of outrage building inside her. Outrage because Ashley has always been someone who trusts too quickly, loves too deeply, and too often chooses responsibility over safety. Outrage because if something happens, the one who will suffer most will not be Derek or Naomi, but Ashley herself. But Naomi is not blameless either. She feels as though she is standing on the line between protecting her friend and becoming the person who destroys her friend's choices. If Naomi warns Ashley too soon, Ashley may resist and cling even more tightly to Grayson just to prove she is not wrong. If Naomi stays silent, she becomes complicit in the collapse. And as Derek continues talking about his bad feeling, Naomi begins to wonder whether she too has been seeing signs that Ashley has deliberately ignored. Whether Ashley is truly in love with the right man or being drawn into a secret she cannot control. While the three of them are trapped inside spirals of emotion and suspicion, Martin is fighting an entirely different battle. One with no guns, but one that can still kill through the coldness of prolonged distance. After his business trip, Martin turns to Vernon the way a man turns to the last pillar still standing in his family, someone who can turn chaos into guidance and pain into a path forward. But Martin carries a hard-to-name anger inside him. He is angry at Smitty's distraction, at the way the phone screen lights up like a third person slipping between them. At the way Smitty rushes off to meet sources as though their marriage is merely a temporary stopping place. Martin is also angry at himself for beginning to doubt, because doubt makes him feel as though he is betraying his own love. He wonders whether Smitty is just busy with work or hiding something from him. Is Smitty's constant checking of his phone simply professional pressure, or is it a sign of a larger secret Martin is not allowed to touch? And the most painful part is that Martin does not know how to ask. Every time he tries to begin the conversation, he fears hearing an answer that will bring the foundation of their entire relationship crashing down. Vernon, with the experience of someone who has seen too many marriages crack under the weight of things left unsaid, looks at Martin with a gentleness sharpened by discipline. Martin comes to him for advice, but deeper than that, he comes because he no longer knows how to speak to Smitty at all. Some professions force people to bring secrets home with them, and some secrets, once brought home, make home stop feeling like home. Vernon may advise Martin to give Smitty space. He may urge him to trust. He may even remind him that the person who is more accustomed to dealing with absence because of work is not Martin, but Smitty himself. But every piece of advice touches the same bitter truth. If Martin stays silent, the distance between him and Smitty will harden into a crack that cannot be repaired. And if Martin speaks, he may trigger an explosion he is not ready to survive. Feeling cornered makes Martin more rigid, more likely to turn love into a test, more likely to turn a husband into a suspect. He hates that about himself, but the more he hates it, the less he can escape it. On the other side of Fairmont Crest, the previews feel like fresh fuel thrown onto a fire. Cott and Donald are about to share personal truths, and in their world, personal truths are rarely just personal. They are information, leverage, knives hidden beneath clothing. Cott and Donald may be sincere, or they may be quietly sounding each other out beneath a layer of sympathy. Donald, dealing with his own personal troubles and rising family tension, understands what it feels like to be trapped between responsibility and the instinct to run. Cott, who has endured too many moments of being forced to stay strong, understands what it means to appear fine while everything inside is collapsing. But that very understanding is also the trap. The more they share, the more likely they are to hand each other something that could shift the balance of a much larger game. One careless sentence, one detail that matches too neatly, one name spoken in the wrong place could connect Garland Memorial to secrets everyone thought had been buried. And if the plasma ring is tightening its grip, then information is no longer something that saves people. It becomes the thing that decides who will be sacrificed. Meanwhile, Joey appears like a poisonous wind, warm and cold at the same time, something that can rescue and destroy in the same breath. After the public humiliation inflicted by her own daughter, Vanessa is hollowed out, aching and furious, wanting both to fight back and to disappear. She may blame herself. She may loathe herself for letting things go this far. And that self-blame makes her easier to manipulate. Joey chooses exactly this moment to open up, and that openness may be exactly what Vanessa is starving for. The feeling that someone sees her as more than just a woman worthy of judgment. But whether Joey is sincere or simply softening Vanessa for another purpose is the question no one dares say aloud, even though everyone can feel it. Joey's past may indeed be tragic. It may explain something about the man he is today. But in Fairmont Crest, the past is often just a prop brought out at the perfect moment to turn a victim into the protector of the person causing harm. Vanessa may find comfort in Joey, but she may also be sinking deeper into his sphere of influence, and when she falls, she could drag others down with her. Joey may be telling the truth, or only the version of the truth that benefits him most. Vanessa does not have enough strength left to tell the difference, because she needs to believe in something right now just to avoid facing the reality that she may have made the wrong choice for far too long. None of these pieces stand alone. They feel like invisible threads tightening around Garland Memorial and Fairmont Crest, pulling people who seem unrelated into the same dangerous spiral. Grayson receives a threat while Jacob panics. Derek does not trust Grayson while Ashley has no idea she is stepping into danger. Naomi stands between protecting and breaking. Martin suspects Smitty while Smitty may be brushing up against a secret far larger than either of them understands. Cott and Donald exchange information while a single sentence could overturn the entire board. Vanessa clings to Joey as though he were a life raft, unaware that he may really be a stone tied to her feet. And somewhere in the hospital, a pair of unseen eyes is watching Grayson without needing to appear, without needing to be named, simply waiting long enough to choose the right moment to crush him. Does Grayson need to be cautious, or is it already too late for caution? That question is no longer theoretical. It has become a question measured in minutes. He begins to read everything as a sign, a stairwell door left slightly open, a shadow turning away too quickly, a car parked too long in the wrong place, a blank subject email appearing and vanishing. A piece of equipment in the lab shifted just slightly as though someone has touched it. Fear turns into anger, and anger turns into recklessness. And that is exactly the moment the plasma ring likes best, because fear may keep someone silent, but anger drives people to act. And one wrong move makes it easy for others to strike without leaving evidence behind. If someone wants Grayson silenced, whether that person is one of his own allies or someone standing very close to Jacob, that is what terrifies him most. Because very close to Jacob means Jacob may not only be surrounded by enemies, but also by people he believes are on his side. Jacob chose a dangerous game the moment he let the mask of the corrupt cop exist in front of others. And now that game may turn around and bite him by pushing Grayson toward a desperate decision. A man backed into a corner will choose destructive ways to survive: betrayal, escape, entrapment, or gambling everything by exposing the secret before he himself can be silenced. And the moment Grayson starts thinking in those terms, he is no longer just a disposable pawn. He becomes a real threat to both sides. Friday night arrives like a thin blade. Derek and Naomi are still carrying unease they have not yet been able to name. Martin is still weighed down by the bitterness of a man afraid of losing his husband, but too afraid to say it aloud. Cott and Donald may be on the verge of uncovering information that changes everything. Vanessa may be letting Joey lull her into trust with a carefully edited version of his past. And Grayson stands alone before the coldest question of all. If he makes one wrong move, will he vanish as though he never existed? In the world of Beyond the Gates, the gate does not only lead into wealth and privilege. It also leads into a place where every secret has a price, and every person can be traded in exchange for silence. And once a threat has been sent, the most frightening thing is not whether it is real or not. It is that the person who sent it already knows the recipient will never sleep peacefully again because they are preparing to make their move the moment Grayson believes he has managed to protect himself in time.